Hello from Bolivia. Oh my gosh, awesome.
We're
Bolivia,
live.
yes. Yes, feel free, you guys, to
Yay.
say where you're hopping in from. Bolivia. Hello.
That's awesome. Hi from North Carolina. I was going to say California, but
And
that's
Southern
you.
California. We're just all over. That is awesome.
Love it.
Hello, sorry. I don't know what happened. We got two really good smooth days, so I guess we had to have a glitch, just to end it on the same that we started on.
Yeah, true. There's
All
some
right, Tawny,
storms.
take it away.
Oh, yeah, we have been spending these past few weeks, hopefully for the people that are on this call, you have been following all along and you have seen that we've been talking about why mobility drills alone, having perfect form, having these rigid routines are not helpful when it comes to helping chronic pain. And today we are pulling it all together and helping you build more of build a body that doesn't just feel better, but it feels safe, it feels strong doing it. I think that's a pretty good recap of what we've done so far, yes?
Yes, absolutely. We've been building basically a bridge from dealing with pain to possibility. So being able to move, not necessarily concentrating on getting rid of pain, right? But being able to move and deal with pain and in the interim, managing it much better than maybe just repeating like we were talking about. So
Yeah. And just a quick recap for
yeah.
that, just because I know sometimes when people are jumping on this and they don't have like all the layers of IG lives we've done together, the reason
But
why
you
is that
should.
they
You
should.
should, because they're worth
Because
it.
it's there. It's on IG and it's going to be on YouTube, I think.
Hmm.
But just a quick recap, it sounds weird when we're working with pain to not focus on pain. And we liken it to the fact that typically speaking, when pain is the hairy, scary issue from like an ankle sprain, the proper reaction is to be like, okay, this needs some rest. We want to be able to allow these tissues to heal. That being said, when it comes to chronic pain and there is no ongoing tissue injury or damage that you really have to worry about, pain is present even though you don't have to avoid the movement. Um, and when we get into these cycles of avoiding movement, we tend to lose our ability to do stuff. We have more of a shrinking rotation of things that we can do
The
because
closing curtain, as I
the
used last
closing
time.
curtain that Kimberly used last time, which is a really good analogy. And we are showing how it is possible to heal pain and open up that curtain by leaning into pain and focusing on the other cues rather than pain alone.
That was perfect. That's it. We're done.
And feel free for people that have questions, drop them in the chat chain. We have a rough structure of what we'd love to talk about, and we always benefit from your input or your questions, your feedback, and reflections. So we are going to start now by talking about some of the key shifts for long-term success. Kim, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah. So I wanted to focus on basically three key shifts. I think first we have to recognize that there's a major difference between exercise patterns or repeating specific ways to do a stretch versus using the nervous system to create change, not only at the tissue level, but also rewiring the nervous system's pattern of pain associated with that movement. And that takes a lot of time because you have to respect the way the nervous system is obviously reacting, but you can kind of guide it and push it and kind of there is definitely a lot of play that can happen. And I think the first thing is to recognize, like, okay, what do we, go ahead and experience it. So I think that's important. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about was that it's important to shift from a rigidity of alignment, of form, of doing a movement a specific way because that's the way it was taught or the way you learned it or the way it's biomechanically designated as correct, that if we shift away from that and explore, non-conforming positions in a stretch, in a movement, it's actually a lot more helpful for the nervous system. So it doesn't feel like it has to conform to a certain way, that it can you can explore and maybe find a safer route, which might be like kind of looping it back in, right? So I think that's really important, especially with Pilates, since there is a lot of exercise patterns, or there's a way to do a specific exercise. I think that it's important that it's okay to shift, not just okay, not just okay, but maybe important that we shift away from that mindset when dealing with chronic pain and even chronic tightness. Yeah, and then I also wanted to tack onto that. It might actually help. So chronic pain people have a lot of fear, and that might help guide them to kind of squashing that fear and movement associated fear. I think that is super important, because it's not just the nervous system pain, but there's like that psychological component that you are affecting, I think, by shifting. And then the last thing was support, which seems obvious, but it's not just support through like movement cues, like cues to help a person, like I was saying, explore, and focus on guiding versus correcting. One of the ones that I like to talk about all the time is like, relax your shoulders. Like, for someone who is tense or tight, because that's how they feel safe. That's what feels safe. They're guarding, they're fearful, whatever. Like that's not a helpful. That's like you know what they say when you're anxious, don't tell someone anxious not to be anxious. It's the same thing, right? But we could turn that cue into, maybe it means, hey, try moving your scapula more. So they could kind of get a little bit of movement and maybe get a reset and maybe kind of figure out something. Okay, oh, okay, now I feel like strong here. And then I think in addition to that, finding support, it's finding support for certain movements. Like in the previous IG Live, I referenced a video that I had posted in my stories about like supporting someone's bottom of the pelvis to like access the hip better. Like, sure, it looks a little weird, a little corny. You might have to do stuff like that though, where you support the body so it feels like, oh, okay, I can let this happen, whatever that is, stretch, movement. And I think that that kind of support is super important in the sense that I think we can train our bodies to not have to self-regulate. I've been seeing that a lot, actually, in some movement, Pilates movement, this self-regulating of a specific movement for a specific sport. I really don't think we need to train that. I think that having especially an athlete or someone who needs to be in that flow state, you can't be self-regulating. You have to just be able to like go for whatever it is that you need, but we can train all the different aspects that we use with all of the support and the recognition, all that stuff, in order for us to just move, which is the same thing that chronic pain people need to think about as well. Yeah. So those are my key takeaways, or my key shifts that I think are really important. And I know, Tawny, you have some great ones for us too.
Yeah, I actually wanted to check in to make sure, because I know we have a question. I don't know if Ale, you're still on
here.
Okay.
You talk, I'll look.
Okay. If you're still on here,
I found it. I found it.
Okay, she's still on
it says, how do you deal with people who are afraid to move because they've been in pain for a long time but no serious injury? So I think, hopefully those, I'll let Tawny go, but just real quick, from my standpoint, those things that I was talking about, like recognizing that it might be different. It just might look really different, and being welcoming to explore that with the feedback from your client, I think is really important. Like, how does that feel? Does that feel safe? Can you do this? If they can't, okay, what if I put something there? Can you do that if I put something there? I think recognizing, supporting, shifting from that, like it has to be a certain way. I think those are really important. And Tawny, you add to that.
Yeah, no, I think those are wonderful points. And to get more client feedback. So if I know that I have someone who's afraid to move, I generally speaking want to know like what do they think is going on. Like, yes, of course, like pain itself, you're like, oh, like pain, it's kind of alarming. Generally speaking, that's like the surface layer of what they're thinking and experiencing. Underneath that, they might think they're injuring something. They might think that
Mm-hmm.
this movement means something is wrong. So it can be a really great thing to start off the conversation like, well, what do you think is happening when you experience pain? Just to get a real good foundation of that. So then you know, like, do I drop in some pain science? Do I drop in some helpful tidbits to start to help people shift away? And then once they are understanding that their bodies are not broken, or at least they're open to the idea, because not everybody can make that switch or mind shift right away. But once they're a little bit more open, I think the key phrases here are, can you get them curious, get them explorative? Because curious and explorative is the opposite of fear, right? When you're in fear, you don't want to explore anything. When you're
Yeah.
getting them curious, like what is possible for you, you're not just building that curiosity, which is the antithesis of fear. It's also helping them start to become more body aware, because you're asking them things like, well, how does this feel to you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you think you might want to do or explore to be able to start to move this area, but not so that it freaks you out, just a little bit, just to see what's possible for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Kim, that's what you were thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to add to that. Shoot, it just went whoop right out. But I like to refer back to, I think you said it, maybe the last IG Live or the one before that. Oh, you have to come back to me. As you were going, my brain was like, ooh, that's good. So yeah, that's why I usually write down, because it goes right out. Because then I'm like, oh, that's another good one. But yeah, the exploring, the curiosity, exploring a curiosity. Oh, that's gonna kill me. I hope I figure it out.
While you're letting your mind percolate, I can give an example, and maybe that will jog your memory as well.
Absolutely.
I have this lady that I was working with, and she was telling me I can't squat. Like, squatting just hurts so much in my back and my hips. And I was like, okay, well, like, show me what a squat would look like. She's like, well, if I do it really fast, it'd be fine. And I asked her first, I'm like, okay, let's slow it down. And she looked at me kind of with big eyes, and she was like, wait, slow it down. No, actually that goes worse, because even though I'm slowing it down, I actually like notice my pain more then. And that's something to pay attention to, because remember, there's the, like, what is your brain going through? For her, slowing down, even though generally speaking, slowing down is a way that your system can find safety, for her, slowing down meant she would hyper focus on the area. Be like, okay, what's going on?
Oh, is it coming?
Yeah, is it coming? So I asked her, okay, this time what I want you to do is I want you to explore moving slowly at your own pace to whatever depth you want. And I want you to have your focus be on something like your breath. Like, slow down the breath, pay attention to what the breath is doing there. And then she went through the entire squatting motion, and she had looked at me like huge eyes. She goes, oh. I'm like, what? She goes, that felt actually okay. I'm like, yes. Like, when you hyper focus on pain, when you hyper focus on a particular body part and like what's feeling now or what it shouldn't be feeling now, that gives the system more fight, flight, freeze attention, and it is more likely to sensitize the area and have you experience pain as a result. I don't know if that jogged your memory.
Yeah, vaguely. Yeah, there was something specific that you had said last week, and then when you were talking, I was like, "Ooh, that brought that phrase back to mind," and then it just floated right out. But also building on the answering to the same question is, I often like to ask, like they'll say, "Well, where should I feel it?" And I don't answer. I usually ask them a question. Where do you feel it? Okay. Well, does it feel like a stretch? Does it feel like, can you explore the idea of what, like, maybe descriptive explanation of what they're feeling? Okay. Does it feel like you could relax into the stretch there? No. Okay. So let's back out of it a little bit or change the position or whatever. So I feel like I came back. I think it was from the first IG live where you said you can provide your client or the person dealing with chronic pain can provide the most insight about their own body, which is just such a really good shift of thinking. Like, they're coming to you because you're the specialist, you're the person who's going to guide them, but they can really provide an insight that you will not be able to provide because you don't know what it feels like. And I always say that. I don't know what it feels like in your body. You got to tell me, what do you think? Like, let's explore. So I think explore is like the big reigning theme, right? Explore, curiosity. And that goes for both parties, right? So that goes for encouraging them as a guide. All right. So we're guiding them to explore, and just having a guide there makes them feel better. Like, okay, well, if I journey through this, whatever feeling I'm going to explore, and it feels like it's going to go south, they know they have an expert there to, be like, yeah, this doesn't feel good. Okay. Yeah. All right. So then let's switch it up. Let's change it up.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I remembered.
I'm sure you would have been mad. Yeah, it really gives them permission to start to build trust in themselves because you're not always going to be there. And I think when you come into the mindset of like, I know what this should look like and feel like, it can be very judgy and sometimes I hear people say stuff like, you can't feel that. And, even though they're contracting the muscle or whatever. And yeah, like it can be a very invalidating experience. Like, no, I can't feel it. I don't know what you want me to feel. And when you allow them to be like, just tell me what it is you feel, because again, I'm not in your body. I don't know what that feels like. And your body may have turned on, turned off signals that even though you're contracting the right muscles, you just cannot experience yet. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means that your nervous system hasn't had that pathway queued up and well enough for you to be able to connect with it and to understand what that feels like.
Yeah. And I think definitely with chronic pain people, there's a lot of like signals that where the light switch is just turned off, because it feels like that's a no-go zone.
Yeah. Let's talk about actually how to integrate this stuff, because people are just like, but I don't have time to do stretches and exercises all day. Like, what if I don't have all the even 20 minutes to do a Pilates routine with Kim? So how would you say you teach people to be able to integrate this as part of their daily life outside of an exercise routine?
Yeah. So I think it goes back to recognizing that almost all of my chronic people are people that stop moving for like long periods of time. Like our bodies are just not meant to not move. So I always say, do not underestimate the power of breath to reset. So the breath just really getting like, all my clients have to aim for a 6-count minimum of an inhale. And I have yet to meet someone who walks in and just nails that right off the bat. 6 counts, I'm talking about 1, 2, and the entire time expanding through the rib cage. Just that can kind of reset the rib cage, the torso, just the way you're sitting, instead of going back to the over fixation, over cueing, fixating on your posture, fixating on, is my ergonomics perfect? Like, stop fixating on that. Just reset with some little micro adjustments throughout the day. And usually those micro adjustments are the same movements that you can then progress to training, which is awesome because you don't have to learn something new. It's the same stuff, just with a higher level of tension, but putting it on repeat, like just constantly repeat. So breathing, those little micro adjustments throughout the day, just providing movement. And again, all of these things I provide on my Instagram even, so like super accessible. And then I think you hit it just a little bit ago, developing a trusting relationship with your nervous system. So that takes time. So as you are kind of bridging this gap, kind of observing with that curiosity instead of that judging or, oh my God, there's that pain again. Like it actually is very challenging, but so rewarding when a client like finally learns like, well, I started to get that like really bad tightness that just, and then I get the headaches, but instead of like just doing what I would normally do or taking, NSAIDs or something, I did my neck stuff. I did some breathing, I did some shoulder, like they list all the tools that they've been given and then they were fine. Like that's the glorious like that's what you're aiming for. You're not aiming for never having pain. That's ridiculous. But having the tools to like, oh, like I can actually make myself feel safe to move. I think those are super important, that you got the tools in your back pocket. You just kind of have to use them throughout the day to reset.
Yeah, I think that's really useful, because I know that I run into this a lot. I'm sure you do too, is that I see people that are like, well, I don't have access to a gym. I don't have access to, this thing that I can do, because like I can't do my PT exercises anywhere, or da 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 da. And sometimes this is like correlated, like, especially when there's the whole old messaging of like, oh, you have to strengthen your core, in order for you not to have pain. Which, for those of you that are watching, that's not true. You can absolutely have stellar core strength and still have pain, and vice versa. So we want to remember that our everyday movement, our physical activity of walking, of doing the laundry, of our daily just routine has muscle work to it, has movement to it, and we can stack our daily movement practices along with breath work. Obviously, it's helpful to be aware, to cue yourself to remember to do that. So there is that aspect of mindful awareness that needs to come in. An example of this is I had a friend who had a C-section somewhat recently, so this pops up in my head. And she's like, I had no idea that your abs were involved, or your core is involved with everything. She's like, I couldn't get up the stairs. Like, it's just even walking, my core was like contracting. So we want to remember that, like, yes, when you go upstairs, your body's working for you. Your core is engaged. All these things are part of your day, and you can utilize that. You don't have to have access to all these other things. And I think it's also important to think about the minimum effective dose. A lot of people, especially if you're like an overachiever, like perfectionistic kind of person, you might think, I have to feel it, I have to do more in order for this to be effective. And it's consistency. Sometimes you won't feel all that much. You're like, wow, that was a really easy workout. And that consistency still really has a huge impact. And I love this research study that I saw I want to say like a year ago. It was with twins, and like they were identical twins. One guy, his commitment was like 40 minutes of exercise with more intensity, and his identical twin was 20 minutes of exercise, kind of moderate intensity. And by the end of 6 months, they were exactly the same. There was like no like appreciable gains. So we might be like pushing ourselves to work really hard when there's really little payoff, or no payoff at the very end. So how can we start to make micro adjustments in our day? How can we start to integrate breath work just by paying attention to notice when we're having more tension? Can we do a quick reset?
Yeah, because you were talking about going up the stairs, I have a chronic pain client who has started recently having like pretty bad pain in the feet. And going down the stairs is like, first thing is like really painful. And so, and she's a chronic pain client, right? So she's dealing with chronic pain. So her natural thing is, again, closing curtains, right? And I said, do you think you could take an extra 5 to 10 minutes and just work through the feet, but go really slowly? Hold on to the rail, but just work through the feet. Because I guarantee by the time you get down to the bottom of the stair, you will feel better. But it's just going to take a lot more time. So like, can you just add on a little bit of time? And just that is just a mind shift too, right? Of like, oh my God, now I have something else wrong with me. And now I'm going to have this pain. But now you can shift that to like, now is an open opportunity to kind of work through the foot, establish like, hey, there's no need to freak out, right? We can work through this. Like maybe it'll get better today. Maybe it won't, but like we can, I think that when you're talking about the stairs, I was thinking about that. And this incident that we've been discussing, and it worked, thankfully, I think because we've developed that the trusting relationship, both me as a guide and her with her nervous system, right? Mm-hmm. So trusting that, okay, I'm feeling tentative about it, but I will try it. But in closing, like I just wanted to say thank you, Tawny.
Thank you.
I have received a lot of golden nuggets, and I think I already mentioned like the one where you were saying like you can provide the best insight to your body is like very empowering. I think for chronic pain people to know that like in a state where you don't feel like you're in charge, like you actually have a lot to offer to us as a guide. I think that was there was a lot, but that was like a big shining one for me. How about you, Tawny?
Yeah, and I think that it is awesome just to be able to hear like from Kim, just all the practices of inviting curiosity, inviting play, inviting ideas, really, because like what you're like, I'm also sure you hear this a lot. People are just like, well, I didn't think about that. That just sounds like a brilliant idea, but you're literally just coming from this angle of not being in survival mode, and because of that, you're able to provide the insight of like how you might be able to do this differently. So, and I love the cues that you give people for that. So I guess the end game for people that are working with chronic pain, or for if you are someone who experiences chronic pain, I think questions that you could really utilize is, okay, what do I feel, or what for the coach or the guide that's asking. I really love that you use the word guide, because truly that's what we are, is what do you feel? And does it feel okay to be there? And if it doesn't, like how can we modify to allow a little bit of it? And then giving questions like, well, how does your body want to move? Like now that you are paying attention to that.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Yeah. And then just recognize that it's just going to, it takes time, and that a minor setback isn't a true setback. It's just part of the journey. And then definitely reaching out to someone to guide you. Like I think if you can not do it alone, it'll get you on the track faster. And it's definitely a worthy investment to work with a guide. So
Tawny, actually, I just want to take a moment to
yes.
Just because I really love that. I've been hashing that again and again over with people lately, is that I don't actually truly believe in like the day-to-day setbacks that are there. And I don't say that meaning that I don't think that you're experiencing something that feels less than. That being said, what I do mean is that the nervous system is dynamic. Like how much sleep you get every day, how much water you drink, your mood, if you're grieving an anniversary of a puppy passing, all those things are impacting your day-to-day. And on the days that things feel heavy, your zone of like play is a lot smaller, which means if you think that you are performing, you can perform at your normal and it feels smaller. It's not because you had a setback. You just might be you just might want to pay attention to some of the things that are influencing your nervous system that day, that week, and understand that contraction is also followed by expansion.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's super important. And I think that's why those little micro adjustments that you do during the day sort of keeps tabs on like how you're feeling, and then just resets it. And if you can, like what you're saying, it's just kind of observing, oh, hey, that feels a little funky today, or different today, or or what you're saying, a little bit narrower range of motion or whatever it is, that, yeah, there's a lot of factors that factor into what we're dealing and what we're feeling with. I mean, stress being like a huge one in all sorts of different forms. But I also like to tell my chronic pain clients, like during those times, it seems weird to say this, but if you can increase the tension that you put behind some of the movement that you do in order to reestablish stability in your body, is actually really helpful. When my chronic pain clients are really having an episode for whatever it is, I like to tell them, like, okay, I know you feel like giving in, but like just for this moment right now, like I really want you to like really just put some energy through your arms, and I want you to just really give me a big roll. And it's way more effective than just like kind of working through it and like giving into the pain. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. What I'm saying? Because it establishes in your nervous system, like, okay, I feel stable now. Mm-hmm. And I find, I don't know if you have found that, but I have found like a lot with my chronic pain people that they kind of turn into a little bit of a wet noodle. So I try to encourage them, like, just for right now, and I promise you'll feel better. And they always do.
Yeah. I don't know if that was there a question there, just to make sure I heard a question. Mm-hmm. I think there was a question.
No,
okay,
not really.
Yeah,
So I think if anyone has any questions on this particular installment or any of the previous ones, please feel free to continue to comment in the previous ones or this one or whatever, or reach out to Tawny as a really great resource. And also, I will be putting all of these installments up on IG. So if you didn't get a chance to watch all of them, or like the last one, it got cut off for who knows what reason, we're going to have it all put together. And I will have all those links and stuff sent out, and then, or out. And in addition, I don't believe this will be our last collaborative effort.
I don't think so either.
You can expect to see more from us. In fact, more on kind of these topics that we've been discussing. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a little cool resource for you guys.
Because Kim and I are pain nerds.
Not me. All right. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say, Tawny?
No, I hope that you guys benefited a lot from Kim and my collaboration together. We've enjoyed it. Truly, we do geek out and nerd out, I think, on this stuff.
Totally.
So if you have questions, we are happy to answer, because that just gives us more play in our nerdiness.
Very true.
Cool. Well, thank you all for joining
us.
All
right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining.